We're going to be reading a story called The Wind in the Willows, and it's a very old story from over 100 years ago, and it's considered one of the best stories ever written for children. So let's begin. Part 1, The Riverbank. The mole had been working very hard all the morning spring cleaning his little home. First with brooms, then with dusters, then on ladders and steps and chairs, with a brush and a pail of whitewash. He did this until he had dust in his throat and eyes, and a splash of whitewash all over his black fur. Spring was moving in the air above and the earth below, and around him in his dark and lowly little house. Any wonder he suddenly flung down his brush onto the floor, said, "Bother," and "Oh, blow," and also, "Hang spring cleaning," and bolted out of the house without even waiting to put on his coat. Mole immediately made for the steep little tunnel, and without a moment's hesitation, he began scraping and scratching and scrabbling. He worked busily with his little paws and muttered to himself, up we go, till at last pop, his snout came out into the sunlight, and he found himself rolling in the warm grass of a great meadow. Let's look at the next picture. "This is fine," he said to himself. "This is better than whitewashing," he added as he jumped with delight at the joy of spring. In this state of happiness, he made his way across the meadow till he reached the hedge on the farther side. It all seemed too good to be true, as moving hither and thither, he observed everywhere birds building and leaves and flowers bursting forth. He thought this happiness was complete when, as he meandered aimlessly along, he came to the edge of a full-fed river. There he stood quite mesmerized, as never before had he seen a river. He watched in awe as it shimmered and shined, gurgled and burbled, swirled and curled its way seaward. So bewitched and fascinated was he that he trotted for a while by the side of it. Eventually, exhausted by this tremendous effort, he sat down by the bank to rest. As he sat on the grass and gazed across the river, a dark hole in the bank opposite, just above the water's edge, caught his eye. Mole quietly contemplated what a nice, snug dwelling place it would make. As he gazed, something bright and small seemed to twinkle like a tiny star down in the heart of it. But it could hardly be a star, and it was too glittering and small to be a glowworm. Then, as he looked, it winked at him. So revealed itself to be an eye, and a small face began to gradually to grow up and round, like a frame around a picture. A brown little face with whiskers, a grave round face with the same twinkle in its eye, small neat ears and thick silky hair. It was the water rat. The two animals stood and regarded each other cautiously. "Hello, Mole," said the water rat. "Hello, Rat," said the mole. "Would you like to come over?" inquired the rat. "Oh, it's all very well to ask," said the mole, rather grumpily, he being new to a river and Riverside's life and its ways. The rat said nothing, but stooped and unfastened a rope and hauled on it, then lightly stepped into a little boat which the mole had not observed. It was painted blue outside and white within, and was just the size for two animals, and the mole loved it immediately. The rat sculled across. Then he held up his forepaw as the mole stepped gingerly down. "Lean on that," he said. "Now then, step lively." And the mole, to his great delight, found himself actually seated in the stern of a real boat. "This has been a wonderful day," he said as the rat shoved off and took to the sculls again. "Do you know I've never been in a boat before in all my life?" "What?" cried the rat, open-mouthed. "Never been in a... You never... Well, What have you been doing then?" "It is so nice as all that?" asked the mole shyly, though he was quite prepared to believe it as he leaned back in his seat and surveyed the cushions, the oars, and all the fascinating fittings. "Nice? It's the only thing," said the water rat solemnly as he leaned forward for the stroke. Believe me, my young friend, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, half so much worth as doing as simply messing about in boats. Simply messing. He went on dreamily, messing about in boats. Messing. Look ahead, Rat! Cried Mole suddenly. It was too late. The boat struck the bank full tilt. The oarsman lay on his back at the bottom of the boat, his heels in the air. About in boats, or with boats, the rat went on cheerily, picking himself up with a pleasant laugh. In or out of 'em, it doesn't matter. Look here, if you've really nothing else to do, what do you say we spend time on the river together? Here's the next picture. The mole waggled his toes from sheer happiness, spread his chest with a sigh of contentment, and leaned back blissfully into the soft cushions. What a day I'm having, he said. Let us start at once. Hold on a minute, then, said the rat as he tied fast to the boat and climbed into his hole above. Moments later, he reappeared, staggering under a fat wicker luncheon basket. Shove that under your feet, he said to Mole as he passed it down to the boat. Then he untied the boat and took the sculls again. What's inside? Asked the mole eagerly. There's cold chicken inside, replied the rat. Cold tongue, cold ham, cold beef, pickled gherkins, salad, French rolls, crescent sandwiches, potted meat, ginger beer, lemonade, soda water. Oh, stop, stop, cried the mole. This is too much. Do you really think so? Inquired the rat seriously. It's only what I always take on these little excursions. The other animals complain that I hardly have enough. The mole did not hear a word of it. He was already absorbed in the new life he was entering upon. He trailed a paw in the water and dreamed long, waking dreams. The water rat, like a good little fellow he was, sculled steadily on and did not disturb him. I like your clothes, old chap, the rat remarked after some half an hour or so had passed. I'm going to get a velvet jacket myself some day. I beg your pardon, said the mole, pulling himself together with an effort. You must think me very rude, but this is so new to me. So this is a river? The river, corrected the rat. And you really live by the river. What a jolly life! By it and with it and on it and in it, said the rat. It's brother and sister to me, and aunts and company, and food and drink, and naturally washing. It's my world, and I don't want any other. But isn't it a bit dull at times? The mole asked. Just you and the river and no one else to pass a word with? No one else to... Well, I mustn't be hard on you, said the rat. You're new to it, but the bank is so crowded nowadays that many people are moving away altogether. Oh, no, it isn't what it used to be at all. Otters, kingfishers, dabchicks, moorhens, all of them, about all day long, always wanting you to do something, as if a fellow had no business of his own to attend to. What lies over there? Asked the mole, waving a paw towards the background of a woodland that darkly framed the water meadows on one side of the river. Well, replied the rat hesitantly, that's the wild wood. We don't go there too often. Are there scary creatures in there? The mole asked, trying not to tremble. The squirrels are all right, Rat replied. And the rabbits, some of them. But the rabbits are mixed a lot. And there's a badger, of course. He lives right in the heart of it. Wouldn't live anywhere else either. Dear old badger. No one interferes with him. Why, who should interfere with him? Asked the mole. Well, of course there are others, explained the rat in a hesitating sort of way. Weasels, stoats, foxes, and so on. They're all right in a way. I'm very good friends with them. Past the time of day when we meet. But you can't trust them, and that's a fact. And beyond the wildwood? Mole asked. Beyond the wildwood is the wide wood, said the rat. And that's something that doesn't matter, either to you or me. I've never been there, and I'm never going. Nor you either, if you've got any sense. Don't ever refer to it again, please. Now then, here's our backwater at last, where we're going to lunch.